Hey you, welcome back. Or welcome for the first time. If this is your first video of mine that you have seen. Welcome to Life in Bloom, where we discuss running home and business with spirituality, style, and grace. I am Janelle, and today we are going to be getting in my business a little bit. Actually, a lot of bit. A lot of bit is not a word, but we're going to use it. We're going to go with it, okay? So, today we're going to discuss how I made my first six figures in my spiritual business. So if you are new here, one of the things that I talked about in my previous video where I shared 7 books that has helped me to call in more money, or even if you're returning and I need to anchor this in for you, being on this channel, you are going to have to get comfortable with talking about money, okay? Because we are going to talk about money a lot, all right? And here's the thing. We are grown, okay? We are grown. We have grown bills. We have grown dreams. And frankly, shying away from money conversations just feels very childish because, what are we doing here, people? Okay, money, guys, please. I can't challenge you to get comfortable with these conversations without, sharing a bit of my own journey. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. How I made my first 6 figures in my business, as I mentioned, especially a spiritual business, because there are a lot of limiting beliefs about that when it comes to spiritual businesses, which is such an oxymoron, being that in spirituality, we're always talking about abundance and increase and being able to get whatever we want. But when it comes to having an abundant business that's centered in spirituality, it's the limiting beliefs, the truth about what folks believe really jumps out, because there's just a lot around not feeling like you could or should charge, for your gifts. Just, there's just that. But anyway, my business is called the Astro Hive. And so I'm a psychic astrologer, a frequency healer. And what I do is I use the science of astrology, my clients' astrological DNA, to help them to understand the very reason why they incarnated into this lifetime, what they're here to accomplish both personally and professionally, so that they can attain a level of fulfillment all around that they've never experienced before. And then they also walk away from my programs, my containers, my retreats with the roadmap on how to make it happen. So again, I'm super focused on folks having it all, whatever that means for them. And we are all individuals, so it's going to look different for everyone else. But whatever your highest, best, most authentic, affluent life looks like for you, I want you to have that. And that's what I help my clients with. So here's how I've been able to cultivate a successful business and how I made my first 6 figures. And what's also really cool is that it did not take me a very long time. One of the things that one of my mentors loves to say is that success doesn't take time, it takes certainty, and that is the absolute truth, especially with the first thing that I'm going to share with you. So when it came to making this first 6 figures, the most important thing was deciding that I was going to make this money, period. Okay, so I made my first 6 figures in business in 2020. Think about 2020. It was a lot, okay? That is when, Madame COVID decided to really show her butt, okay? Literally, okay, so let's go back to the end of 2019. And I, looked at my reports for the year. And because hopefully you people are doing your books too. If you're in business, even if you are a spiritual business, please have the practical things in place. If you do not, at least have QuickBooks. If you don't want to do it, make sure you hire a bookkeeper at the minimum. So anyway, I'm looking at my numbers and I'm like, dang, this is cool, but I desire more. And I was, on one hand, I was a little disappointed because I was like, you know, I really wanted to hit that coveted 6-figure mark. And I didn't. But I was also proud of myself because in that year I had made what I had matched my last salary at my last job, right? So I was like, okay, cool. But it was like seeing everything on paper, I was like, no, I'm doing this 6 figures in 2020, period, right? So I came into 2020 knowing, because I decided that this was the year I was going to do 6 figures. Nothing was going to stop me. Okay? Decision. Decision, decision, decision. Have you truly decided that, look, I'm doing this. I don't care what happens. I don't care what it takes. I'm doing this. Decision is so powerful, and it is the very first step in any manifestation, really. Deciding that you are going to have this thing. And it's just done. And not even really deciding that you're going to have it, but deciding that you're going to allow it to come to you, right? Because what you are seeking is also seeking you. So making the decision that, like, yeah, I'm doing this, this is happening, and this thing is going to come to me is key. All right? The second thing is on a more practical side. Because deciding to make 6 figures is one thing. The math, not mathing, is another. So you need to make sure that, like, or rather, I'll say for me what I did, right? So one of the things that I did was I made sure that the numbers made sense. I made sure that, like, I knew how much I was going to be charging for things. I knew the size of my audience. And I knew that if I sell X amount, this will happen, right? So if you're like, okay, I'm going to do 6 figures this year. And let's say you're charging $30 for a reading, and that's all you have in terms of your services, just a $30 reading. Realistically, how many people do you need to speak to? How often do you need to be working in order for you to max that $30 reading to a 6-figure business? Or your $50 thing, or your $200 thing, or whatever it costs, your $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, whatever. But you also have to make it make sense. And yes, although we are running spiritual businesses, it is still a business. So do your numbers actually make sense? Do you have programs or products properly priced in such a way that you can see how the 6 figures can come? And how it can come with ease more than anything else. Okay? So decision. And then number 2 was making sure that the numbers made sense. So no matter what kind of business you're in, you got to know your numbers. Okay? That way you're not setting unrealistic, and I hate using that word as a very spiritual person, but some things it just needs to make sense. Like, make sure it makes sense, okay? If you know that right now all you are selling is something at $20, and I'm not saying you can't get to a 6-figure business selling $20, but like how does it, like, what are you selling? Because if you're selling your time, that's a lot of work, okay? And I don't know about you, but I don't like to work all day. I like to make a lot of money as easily as possible because I don't want to work all the time. I desire to have a life, okay? I want to travel. I want to hang out with my kids. I want to go on date night. I want to visit my friends, other family members. I want to watch Netflix. I want to, listen to my true crime podcasts. I want to have time to trade memes with my friends because that's really important to me, okay? Meme time is important. It's also part of how I judge my friendships, by like the quality of memes that they have for me. All right. The third thing is really important. And let me tell you, 2020 was the absolute best lesson for this. So in addition to making the decision that I was going to make that 6 figures, period, and making sure that I had programs priced properly and products priced properly to support my decision. The third thing was holding the vision no matter what. So oftentimes we'll say like, yeah, I'm doing this. And at the first sight of inconvenience, fold like a lawn chair. You gave up early. Picture this. It's 2020, right? I have decided I'm going to make my first 6 figures that year. I launched my program, the North Node program. I think I had double the price. I feel like I had double the price. It was like a new iteration of the program. We had modules. We had a retreat at the end. I was like, oh my gosh, I have built my dream program. I have clients in there that I love. Kill it, right? All of the weeks that were virtual, we get to the retreat. It's the best weekend ever. I'm talking about, I just, pouring into my clients, and, there's crying and we're hugging each other and we're dreaming big, and I'm leading them through this amazing weekend. And I left that weekend on such a high. I had a huge sale at the end of the retreat. I was just feeling so good. I remember talking to my business coach at the time, like, yo, like, I am so happy. I cannot wait, like, to just do this over and over and over. Like, this is how I want the program to be. And oh my God, amazing. Again, remember, it's like the end of February, early March. So I'm like, this is the format. Like, this is it. This is the winner. And a week after we leave each other, the country shuts down. And I'm like, oh. So in addition to just, being confused like everybody else about what was going on, my kids were supposed to be on spring break, and I'm thinking they're going back to school when spring break is done. Because I'm like, okay, they shut down while we're on spring break. That's fine. They'll be back in school. They never went back to school. We can't go outside. So I'm like, okay, so first of all, people were panicking. I was a little bit nervous. I'm like, are people going to be spending, money on, something like this at this time? Because I want to say the Northland program was maybe like $2,500 at the time. Maybe, yeah, I feel like it was like $2,500. Not even. Damn, how much was that charge? It was maybe $2,000. I was like, are people going to want to pay $2,000 to come in this program? Oh my gosh, we can't do the retreat. Oh my God, the retreat can't be virtual because it's not going to be the same. They're not going to feel me. They're not going to get... So I went through a quick moment of like, oh my God, like, I'm like, man, I'm supposed to do my 6 figures this year. And I finally found my format. Like, and then I just had to say, Janelle, relax. You control this. You cannot control what goes on outside, but you can control you. I had to bring it back in, right? I had to ground. I had to make sure that I was living what I was preaching, because there was a second where I was a little wobbly, okay? And so I had to bring it back in. And I remember having to recommit to my decision, because I told myself, right, I was going to make this 6 figures no matter what. Yeah, there's a global pandemic outside, but you know what, damn it, I said I was going to do these 6 figures, and I'm going to do it. So I had to recommit to my decision, and I had to hold the vision, which is my third point. I had to hold the vision no matter what. I had to hang on to the fact that I felt myself making these 6 figures despite the chaos that was going on outside. I had to hold the vision no matter what was going on. And I tell my clients this all the time. I'm like, I don't care if there are bombs going off around you. Face front, okay? And keep your eye on the prize. whatever the prize is for you, you have to stay focused on that vision no matter what's going on. And in that moment, I had to like go back into my own spiritual toolkit and remind myself of that. Because for a second, I was like, well, is this still possible? Yeah, it's still possible. You made the decision. And you already know that it can happen, right? Because there's a supply for every demand. I already said this is what it was going to be. And me and Jesus had already talked about it. So, yeah, we're doing the 6 figures, period. The fourth thing is allowing support. So when you are looking to do something that you have never done before, don't try to go it alone. You can, but the road is a lot bumpier than it really needs to be when you don't have support. The obstacle course is harder when you don't have support. I really leaned into my business coach. I really leaned into my spiritual practice and my spiritual, my person that supports me spiritually, making sure that my mental health was right. But allowing support, even allowing my husband to help me with stuff. Because sometimes, you feel like, oh, I got to figure it out by myself. And that's just not the truth. But really allowing support, asking the questions, because success leaves clues, right? And if I am saying I'm going to do something, I have put myself in a position to learn from people who have done this. So they have the answers. They've done it already. So that I don't have to be out here, trying to figure it out by myself. It's not the blind leading the blind, because I'm making sure that I'm supported by people who have done what I desire to do and better. Okay? But really allowing that support was key. And then the fifth thing, and I kind of touched on it a little bit with holding the vision, is really putting your blinders on. Right? So when you decide that you're going to do something really big, whatever it is for you, if your goal is also making your first 6 figures in your spiritual business, or if your business isn't spiritual, whatever the case may be, you're going to have to put your blinders on, because the world is filled with so much negativity. Our social media feeds especially, like here I am working towards this goal, and I had to just do this, not look to my left or my right, because if I did, I'm looking at people saying nobody's spending money right now. People don't want this thing. Most businesses don't make 6 figures. Why would you think you're going to do that? This kind of person won't do blah, 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 blah. People talking about statistics. And eventually I had to be like, yeah, I need everybody to just shut up. Again, I had to control my world, control my universe, because outside was chaotic. Outside was filled with, people saying that things I wanted to do weren't possible, especially in the year that I committed to doing it, or even villainizing me in some kinds of ways, whether it was because they didn't think that, or rather they thought that I was charging too much for things. Because again, when it comes to the spiritual stuff, a lot of times people are like, how dare you be compensated for your gifts, or for the knowledge that you have. You're supposed to give it away for free. But yeah, things just got very chaotic, right? And I had to put my blinders on, because again, I had already decided what I was going to do, no matter what it took. Of course, being ethical, of course, and not harming people or anything like that. I'm just here to spread joy to the world and help people to become their best selves. Like, I don't understand. Like, what's horrible about that? I don't know. But whether it was someone, throwing subliminals, or just talking about things that could have potentially influenced me to say, you know what, maybe I can't do this, or maybe I shouldn't, I had to quiet that down. Because, and especially with statistics really get on my nerves. I just don't feel like it has a place in the minds of dreamers, because we are literally making plans to do what most people won't, or making plans to do what most people think is impossible, right? So if we as big dreamers pay attention to statistics, we're not going to do anything. And then, like, let's use me for an example, right? Like, if I went by the statistics placed on me by the particular labels that someone would put on me, I wouldn't be doing much, right? I'm a woman. I'm black on top of it. I'm an immigrant. I have young children. I this, I that. So there are quite a few labels that someone would say, because of this, you can't do that. Having the mental strength to be like, I don't care what you're talking about, I'm just going to have tunnel vision and do what I want to do. It takes a lot of mental strength and power and commitment to whatever you have said you are going to do. But it is a requirement. Okay, and then the final thing, I think that was 5 things. I'm going to give a bonus. But when it came to making my first 6 figures, one of the other secrets to that, or keys to that, was looking at my astrology chart and really honing in on my gifts. Again, tuning out the noise, not watching what anyone else is doing, not listening to what anyone else is doing, but like, yo, like, what are my strengths that God gave me? Let me do that. And only do that. Not what people are telling me I should do or can do or whatever, but like, who did God design me to be as an individual? And what gifts did God put in me that I can use so that I can make sure that I reach this goal? And so for those of you who are into astrology, like one of the things is my Venus is in my 10th house. So one of my cheat codes is doing video. I live streamed the hell out of 2020. Okay. I was on live stream like daily almost. Because I know that's one of my cheat codes. Like really leaning into my power, into my natural gifts, into my astrological cheat codes. That's the bonus. And this is part of why I'm so passionate about astrology, because we all have like our little cheat codes that we can use to really turn up, you know, the fire, pour gasoline on the fire to what it is that we want to do. That would work for us, that might not work for someone else. And a lot of times we're trying to do what someone else is doing in the way how they do it, when there is a way that we are personally designed to do it. And if you're not too familiar with your natal chart, you might not have confirmation or clarity on what that is. When it came to manifesting, attracting, making, creating, whatever word you want to use, although really it is just attracting and allowing, which is the truth. When it came to allowing the first 6 figures to reveal itself in my business, what that took was making the decision that it was happening no matter what. It was just done already and it was happening. The second thing is making sure that the numbers make sense. Even in your spiritual business, know your numbers and make it make sense. And the third thing was holding the vision no matter what. So no matter what comes your way as a challenge, hold on to the vision. The challenge is an illusion. It's just a little test. The fourth thing was allowing support. Okay? You don't know what you don't know. And the fifth thing was keeping my blinders on. The cool thing about it is once I made my first 6 figures, it took me a whole year to do that. Because again, that was my first time ever doing it. So I just had to, again, keep that focus, train my brain for that. Now it's like, that's just easy. It's just done. Like we already know, you know, at this point we're doing multiple 6 figures for the year. We're doing 6 figures in a quarter, sometimes in a week, sometimes in a day with a launch. It just is. It's just done. You do it one time and it's like, oh, that was actually pretty easy. But we'll just keep working on that. We'll keep talking through it and I'll continue sharing more stories with you. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it. Let's have a little conversation in the comments. Let me know what you think about this, what's coming up for you. And of course, be sure to subscribe to my channel if you are here to learn about running home and business with spirituality, style, and grace. I am Janelle, and thank you so much for tuning in today to Life in Bloom. I'll see you next time. Bye.